ceiling for how much the town would count in their budget. And the last time we did this was in August 2016 when the rents were adjusted appropriately. But the rest of it, I'm not sure. Adjustments were made in 2014. I couldn't figure out what was adjusted, and also in 2010. So it was time to look at everything. And I also went to a meeting of the New Hampshire Welfare Administrator Association, and they gave us ideas of how to set up our allowables. So I gave you the recommendations as well as what I was currently using, and the changes are all more money for housing, more for food, and then personal. That's the hard one. And they said at the meeting that it was hard. How do you figure out what to budget for that? So the IRS has guidelines, and also if you're declaring bankruptcy, there are guidelines there. And they said, probably use one of those. And the IRS guidelines are lower. So I just used the IRS guidelines, which it's all available online. And then the other change was Tamworth had a set amount for electricity and heat, and that just
fluctuates.
Oh, and it just doesn't make sense. If everybody heats a different way, everyone's stove is different, and every single person, I'd have to try to figure out adjustments. And what most of the bigger towns do and say this works well, and it's easy to get by me, I don't have to get it from the person, is to find out what their bill was for the past 30 days, and that's what they pay. And same with heat, it's the past 30 days if it's November to April, and otherwise, it's zero. We don't count heat as an expense May to October. I mean, maybe if it's a really cold October, we'd go, okay, yeah, you had to buy a little bit of heat there.
I guess on the heat, my question would be, okay, here it is, we're going to be in November pretty soon, and my tank was empty, so I got my tank filled the 1st of November, and it was empty, so that's, $800 to fill my tank. So you're looking at, so that's a normal month.
Oh, no, we figured out per month, how long would that last? I talked to their Eastern or whoever, and I go, what's their monthly bill usually? What was it last year?
All right,
now,
so
if they didn't live there before and somebody else lived there, then I have to kind of, and usually the companies are pretty good at giving me, well, if it's a 3-bedroom, then the average would be blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I kind of go with that. What I try to figure out is, say you decide to go with all of these changes. The people I've seen since January, how many have I turned away because their income was higher than their expenses? And there were 2 that I've turned away because their income is higher than their expenses. And even with the raised amounts, neither one would still have qualified for assistance. So even though it looks like, oh, it's going up a lot, I don't think it's going to change things a whole lot, but it does show that we're doing what we're supposed to do and make adjustments at least every other year to reflect what people's true costs are for living around here. The burial allowance, nobody has asked for that since I've come on, so I didn't change that. If somebody came and said they need more than that, the town is obligated to assist them, and we would pay more. But nobody's asked for that.
I guess one of my questions that I have is how much, you said that you had 2 people that wouldn't have qualified anyway, even under the new guidelines.
Correct.
How close are people in qualifying, not qualifying? I mean, is this going to actually?
Usually people who qualify really qualify.
Really qualify.
Their income
so
is.
they're in the real hole.
Yeah, and I just don't even know how they get through year to year. And I'm sure I probably don't have the whole picture, but I get it as much as I can.
Right.
And some people, they have really downtime certain times of the year, and then they have seasonal work, and then things pick up and they do a lot better. Most people, I think, are pretty upfront with me, but I don't know. I investigate as best I can, but.
Right.
What's the longest time period you carry people for assistance?
Oh, I had somebody a long time last year. A long time being probably 6 months.
So we don't ask that they show us proof that they've we do ask that
Every
they show
time
them
they
proof
ask for
that they've
assistance.
they've looked for,
Work?
yeah.
Yes, yeah, they
Okay.
have to keep a log of work, and every time they ask for assistance, I update their budget with them, and sometimes it's just talking to them, saying, what's changed? Has your income gone up? Do you have a new expense? Somebody recently, their car was totaled, and so instead of going over her whole budget, I just wanted proof that her car was totaled and she had to buy a new car. She brought that, and I'm like, okay, I don't go through the whole thing. Yeah, by the way, it's been super quiet throughout the whole state. When people met, everyone's walking, like, are people coming to you? Really quiet.
Well,
Like, I've been working an hour a week. I mean, an hour a month.
Well, and that's why I
Hour
asked
a
about
week.
the job employment,
Yeah.
because if you look at
Yeah,
the
people
local
are working.
paper, there's,
Yeah, I think people are working, and I think, they'll start coming in the winter. Because right now, summer jobs have ended, and there's a lull till the ski seasons
well,
and
plus
logging and.
heating oil's gone up so drastically.
Yeah, heating, but people all apply for fuel assistance, they're really, so it'll be the end of the winter, if it's a cold winter, I got a lot of people last winter, and then everything dropped right off.
good.
Yeah, it is good.
I noticed a change in the phone. Would you have, that system works at 60 days, 90 days,
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
Would you have to be the one to go to the store and what?
I have, when people have, phones that need the cards, the track phones, but those people usually are people who don't have transportation, and they can't get the minutes, they can't get the card, so I will go get the card and bring it to them. And then I'm able to call them. It makes my job easier. They don't have minutes, I can't get in touch with them, and they can't make the calls they need to call. Most people have way more expensive plans that include internet and cable. We don't count cable it's part of their own personal budget, but the town doesn't include that as a cost that people have to have. So sometimes we have to kind of go through their bill to figure out how much is their phone and how much is their cable and how much is their internet. So it's pretty individualized. 45 is a weird number.
It's conceivable, I would think, that some folks that you house for more than a month or so might have let the landline phone bill lapse, so it's nice to have something, an emergency piece of equipment that.
Most people don't have a landline anymore.
Right.
And,
Right.
and a lot of people who are chronically low income, they qualify for a phone through
Right.
ServiceLink.
Yeah,
That's a good basic plan, and they don't have to pay anything. So they have to go through the application.
and is the installation in one of the
It's a mobile phone.
oh, okay,
It's a mobile phone.
good deal.
Yeah.
So what does that give them? I mean, if they're in that position that they can get one, they get a phone that just is local calls or?
They get a certain number of minutes,
it's on
but
a
it
minute
doesn't
basis.
have internet.
Yeah.
It's really basic, but they can
Basic
do
phone,
things
but
like.
they call for help.
They can call for help, but they can also call for services. They
Right.
can call me, they can
Right.
call their doctor, they
Call
can.
anyone.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but they don't have internet on it, so.
Yeah, there is no Wi-Fi or whatever, it's just text and, it's.
Right.
So somebody that comes to you looking for assistance, you're allowing $45 for their phone.
I'll count that in their budget, as
In
this
their
is an
budget.
expense they have to pay.
But if they, what I'm just trying to think is if ServiceLink will give them a phone, why are we counting the $45 that they have?
Then I don't, then it's not in there, I don't count it. So it's individual, so I'll say to
Okay,
somebody,
okay.
what's your phone? And they
Right.
say it's whatever, I'll say,
Yeah.
okay, all I can count is $45.
Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
the way it goes.
All right, I understand.
Yeah, it's service. The only thing we can't count for assistance is if somebody has food stamps, I can't count that as their income. That can, it's complicated. You can count it to reduce their overall food bill, but you can't count it as their income. But anything else is their income. Section 8 housing or ServiceLink phone, or that counts on the income side. Yeah,
The food stamp stuff.
right, I know.
That ain't income.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
food.
no, I mean, it's
Breakfast for
food,
the
but I mean,
kids.
I'm also saying, it's a,
Well,
So how do you deduct it from their food bill?
then in their budget, if they have food stamps, if they say, okay, I have to pay $600 a month for food, and they get
$300.
$400 food stamps, then I count their bill as $200.
Okay, good, all right.
So in a way,
You've got
it's
it
counted
figured out.
as income, but
Yeah.
it's the way everybody does it. I mean, it took me a
Yeah,
while to
okay.
figure
I'm
it out.
just curious.
Yeah.
Thanks for,
Doing it.
thank you for doing the research, keeping ahead of this,
Yeah.
and providing
Yeah.
the, you know, the constitutional requirement that we provide the help, and it sounds like you've done it in a fiduciary responsibility manner, and also with a little help people get by for
Yeah.
however long. Is there any
So,
object?
the only thing I don't see here is we don't have any numbers for heat and electricity.
Well, it's the 30-day thing. I have to research
So-
each person.
Right, so I mean, should there be, okay, based on bills for the past 30 days, okay, all right.
So
Yeah.
I call
Yeah, well-
Eversource, or I call their heating, every single person,
Right.
and it's just way more accurate. Otherwise, we were allowing a lot for oil, but nothing for propane, and the
Right.
person's like, I don't even have oil. It's like,
Right,
oh.
okay.
So,
All right, I'm just trying to make
Yeah,
sure that
yeah,
when we
yeah.
approve this, we're not
Or
cutting
wondering
somebody
if you
short.
should, or wondering if you should put up to a certain amount, so that, like you said, that you do that
I
in your
have
background
discretion,
checks.
right, I can,
Right, you
yeah,
can tell them that they really need to close their windows.
yeah, or,
It's
yeah.
winter.
Can't do much about their air conditioning, but
Or
that's.
whatever, yeah. Time turn off your air
Yeah.
conditioner. Okay,
Unless there's exception.
right, I mean,
Chris,
medical needs
I
or
mean,
something like that.
On the
yeah.
whole,
Yeah.
the thing that Chris has just presented to us, unless there's exception, Chris will proceed with that, thank you.
Okay, great.
You
I'd
want a
like
motion?
I'd like to make the motion that we establish the, as our allowable levels of assistance payments as presented by our welfare officer on Appendix A draft for welfare payments
For 218,
for 218.
218, 219.
219,
Or you wanna go just 219?
yeah, but 218, 219.
Just start
Just
now.
establish
Okay,
for
so-
today and then,
As of now,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so the next person who comes to me, it'll be the newer.
Well, that's what I'm saying, it's got a date thing on the top of it.
Oh,
Right.
as of this.
As of
yeah,
today.
As of
right,
today's
right,
date, which
right.
That's
is
what,
Yeah.
10/25.
25, 2018.
Discussion, an amendment that Chris, at her discretion, would adjust this on an emergency basis or a short-term basis if it was needed.
That's already in the guidelines.
Yeah.
She has some flexibility. This
Yeah.
just says that we understand basically what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, and also the applicants see this as well.
Right,
So,
that this is what the board has decided, so we can't pin you about it.
right.
You want to read your motion again?
No, but I will.
Do it anyway.
That we approve the draft allowable levels of assistant payments for the town of Tamworth and welfare guidelines.
Did you second?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Good job, Chris.
Thank
you.
you.
We appreciate it. This is working better than it's ever
Bye-bye.
been.
Have a nice night.
Hi, Parker.
Good evening.
Remind me again why Parker said.
Parker was asked to, well, the board was asked to go over with Parker how he was going to proceed with the recommendations from the committee. And so he was gonna go over what policies he thought he would implement or what you thought he should be implementing, and you were gonna just have that discussion.
Well,
So do we have any policies?
We do.
Good.
Would you like them?
Yeah.
have you struck on any changes besides whatever was?
Since we're heading into basketball season, I worked on the forms, which it would pertain to any sport, basketball, softball, baseball, flag football, soccer. They could be used for any sport. this form that I have here is, and I'm gonna clean it up and update it. Well, it doesn't really need to be updated, it's got all the pertinent information on there. That's the registration form. I'm gonna add email address to it, and a few other things and change it, but that's the one I've been using for quite a few years. It's got everything on there that every other rec department has. It does have a thing on the bottom about liability, which I'll probably will take out because I met with numerous rec departments in person and on the phone and through emails. I met with Conway, I met with Ossipee, talked with Molten Borough numerous times, Bartlett, and took some of their stuff with some of my stuff. This is what I came up with for the liability.
So you're gonna take it off here and have them sign a separate liability?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Do you have an extra one?
Oh,
I'll share mine with you.
I want it for my notes.
and along with that, which we've always had, and ironically, we're one of the few towns that did, about half the towns have this, but we've never had an issue with our fans or our coaches or our spectators, but they will all be required to sign this. This year I made a mistake, I just realized, as I was looking over it, I don't have a place for the parents and the children signing.
So you need
Oh,
one more
okay.
signature
Yeah,
line?
I don't have one for the children because
Yeah, okay.
the sportsmanship applies to both, so I will clear that up. I just realized that I did not have that on there, but
Yep, good.
this is, a lot of that is Conway, some of it is Bartlett, some of it is mine. We all steal from each other, we all.
Mhm.
I mean,
Why reinvent the wheel when it's already out there?
one of the big things that came to me is reading our Town and Country was where we charge for certain things, and then if you charge for something,
Yeah,
liability just bends right over.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think that's something we probably need to look at in the whole realm of things is where
We did-
do you make a benefit of not charging?
we did
versus
used to charge.
Right.
Tom of Buclas was the one who pushed to have a
Yeah.
$10 registration fee. I
Yeah.
don't know when Tom was here, but that's when that was instituted. During his term or terms, he's the one who really pushed for that, and that's when the $10 fee to register was started, so.
Right. So, I mean, I think it's something maybe we need to revisit and look at, just
And
for a
maybe-
simple fact of,
And drop that. Basically, it covers the T-shirts that they get.
But no matter
Right.
what, whether you charge or not, you
Well,
got
I mean-
liability. They're gonna come after,
right, but I don't know if you remember that article in Town and
Yes, I
Country,
do.
but it was pretty much
There
like,
is more of a liability.
think how you
if you charge.
charge and where you charge. So, that was all on that.
So like you said, the registration fee actually pays for the T-shirts, so
Mhm.
it's, the registration fee for like the swim program pays for the cards and stuff like that and stuff, so.
I'm just curious about this. Is there a medical, is there a medical form the parents fill out?
Yeah, that's on this registration form here. This has the name of the child, parent's signature, parent's name, home phone, home address, business address, phone, 2 other emergency numbers that go underneath there. I give permission, in the event of an emergency, it's mandatory to have your permission to call the rescue squad and/or ambulance to aid and/or transport your child to the nearest hospital. I give permission for my child in the event of an emergency to be transported by the rescue squad or ambulance to the nearest hospital. Is your child on any medications? If yes, is what it for? Does your child have any allergies? If yes, to what? What kind of reaction does your child have? What treatment is necessary? And then underneath says, I understand that Tamworth rec staff volunteers will not be liable for any injuries. My children may sustain along with their guidance. And then the parent signs it and puts the child's name and the date of birth.
And you're thinking about taking the liability piece off
Since
of
I got
that to
that.
go to this,
That.
so that you got.
That
two-
would, these would all be stapled together.
Right.
And
so
this
you'd have
would,
a
this
book
would
of
be for, like I said, every sport that we do.
Yep.
The
It's
summer
all for a
program
child.
would be a bigger booklet, which would involve a lot of other things that I'm working on that as well.
But you would include this also with your
Yes, I
adult
would.
programs as well?
That's what I don't know, that's what,
I would say anything that you have, like your pickleball and stuff like that, any most rec departments,
What
most
I-
people have it signed.
Well, what I found out there talking to different people and, is that if you just have an open gym
Mhm.
and you don't advertise it, and they're just walking in their own, the liability is almost nil.
Right.
But if you advertise like we do, that increases the liability.
Well, the problem is most rec departments advertise their adult
Yeah,
programs.
well, like Conway, for instance, doesn't. People can just walk in and play basketball, and they know. it's
So,
not
but how do
advertised.
people know that the facility is open?
Word of mouth. They get a bit, well, it's different. A lot of guys on their lunch break up there.
I've been up in the old community centers around the class, the old
Yeah.
community center. And that absolutely happened. Not only did a bunch of kids come in
Yeah.
and say, hey, can we shoot hoops? Sure, you use that end, we'll use this end. But following that, later in the day, several adults came in,
Yeah.
did the exact same thing.
Mhm.
not
But the
expecting-
difference with the rec program up there is the building is open.
And there's somebody there.
Yeah.
The building's,
If-
it's open Monday through,
Somebody's there,
it's
right?
not
Yeah.
like
Then
you
all day
have a
Saturday,
Tuesday
so
when it's open
We
or
have to
something.
designate a time because
Right,
we can
because
only
of
have the
school
gym at
and-
certain times.
right.
We have to work around everything else.
How long are these, I'm just curious if I put down, if my kid had a medical or physical constraining something or other, I would tell a coach and I would tell you, and maybe I write it down depending upon the thing, but then do you shred these or? what-
I do, and
what's-
then every season we have them fill out a
Great.
new one. Yeah.
Great.
Because there's, cell phone numbers,
changes.
emails,
Sure.
personal information about medicine and things like that. So,
Good
yeah, we
deal.
do, yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice that, the proviso about watch your mouth, responsible not only for, for the athlete or the participant, but dad and granddad and all the other people.
But you're not shredding your liability release form or your athletic form. I mean, your the sportsmanship and this, you wouldn't shred those. That has HIPAA stuff on it, which I can understand why you'd wanna
Yeah.
delete that.
So you wanted me to keep those as well?
I would like you to keep these, yeah, if the parent signed a liability release form,
Yeah.
you wanna hang on to that until you know there's no liability.
Yeah, because they would fill one of those out for every sport.
Yeah, so he'd be saving the same paper like 6 times if
Yeah.
the kid
Oh,
plays every
that's what you
sport.
want, that's
Well,
what-
I mean,
yeah.
maybe there's some way to put in so that it's,
So they fill these out after, if they sign up for basketball, they fill one out, then in football, they fill one out.
Because
and
not every
softball, they
student
fill one
plays
out.
Every
football,
sport.
basketball.
Right, and
Right, I
so-
also think that
So you probably could
it's-
do it after the season.
it's a good idea to do this every time a child signs up.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Oh, I
so
am-
they, parents
Yeah.
and the child get reminded,
I am
so-
not, I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, a lot of times nothing comes up
Mhm.
in liability until, 6 months later, oh yeah, he really hurt his back in that incident, or
Mhm.
whatever,
Yeah.
I mean. So, if you've shredded all these after the event, then
Mhm.
you've got nothing, you've got no paper trail to follow to say they were there,
Well, you
they
can
signed
keep a
it.
timeline on it.
Right.
I
mean,
wouldn't say,
something.
because, again, I'm gonna use something strange, it's a stress fracture. Say somebody's playing basketball, they get a stress fracture, they don't really account it to the basketball, but they keep limping, and a month later, the doctor says, oh, you've got a semi-healed stress fracture. Ah, it must've been when I was playing basketball, because that's the only sport, not that it can occur if something else. I would say at least a year's worth to hold them for a year, and then after a year, shred them.
Yeah, something like that, I mean, it's like your attendance.
So if you have basketball in November, then next November you'd shred all those up so that, somebody can't come back, like Willie said, in 3 months and say, oh, it must have been when I got hit by the baseball on my foot,
Mhm.
or the elephant stepped on me at, Storyland or something,
correct.
that they can't, you've got it and said, well, you understood at the time, we're not responsible for anything like that. Because you separate by sports anyway, don't you?
Yes.
That's what I thought you did.
Is that it?
What other policies do you have?
I
Do you have a
have-
policy manual? Or are you putting it together?
Putting it together.
Okay.
This here is
Oh, I'm
for
sorry.
coaches.
Okay.
Um, Sorry. I want to read the order.
I know
page 2.
Yeah.
Did I make,
Wait, yeah, okay, that's the same.
just a minute?
That's the one we don't have, the one in your hand right now.
Okay.
Got it.
Yep, okay. I thought I made 20 copies of one instead of 10 of each. So they're similar, but they're different.
So this is page 2.
Yes. And
Thank you
teams,
for putting that on there. The RSA, the voluntary
Yeah.
immunity law.
a lot of towns don't do this, will be, some do, some don't, I'd say it's 50-50. But I will do this with every coach. These are all things that I've gone over with them. Now it's in writing, you know. I sit down with them, I say, look, this is how we conduct ourselves. I can count on one hand the number of incidents we've had with coaches or parents over the years. I've been the president of Peel County Rec, which takes in anywhere from 10 to 14 towns, depending on the membership in any given year. So whenever there's an incident, I get the call, and I have to deal with it. And very rarely, if ever, is it Tamworth. You know,
Can a ref or an umpire in the county or in outing clubs, team baseball, just generally in this area, can an umpire or ref say, hey, go sit in the stands, I won't let you, you know. you
to a
did-"
player,
No, to a coach.
I've seen it a few times.
Yeah.
Because I've
Not
seen
a
it a
lot.
couple times, but.
I've seen coaches banned from towns.
Yeah, we just assumed you didn't bring John back here because
Yeah.
And
last time
usually
he
if
was here,
that
it really wasn't
occurs, that
good.
ref will come to either the rec director of the town and
Yeah.
say, really don't think this person belongs coaching anymore.
But we've never had that.
Not in Tamworth,
No,
no.
We've got a pretty good record.
Jeez.
And what people do like, and you can check with any rec department, is if there is even a minor incident, they know I'm gonna deal with it. And along those lines, this is kind of jumping ship here, I'm gonna just bring to mind that when we go on our trips with our summer program, the bus drivers all fight to do Tamworth because the kids are well behaved. They comment on it time after time, and I guess I've gotta get them to write letters or something, because I think that reflects well on what we do.
When you asked about certifications of the youth league, didn't they used to send coaches to like a mini, I know Wolfboro made you attend a mini,
They do for Cal Ripken. We sometimes will have our coaches go up to Conway.
because I knew
They'll-
they did one for T-ball and they did one for soccer
Yeah.
when I was over in Wolfboro,
But generally, I will go over with and generally hire people that are
Have
very
got some
qualified, that
experience.
have played sports and have, most of my people, I've got police officers, I've got teachers, I have people who coach Cal Ripken, I have people who work for the ski program, you know, they're, it's the old saying, you know, 5% of the people do 95% of volunteer work.
Yeah.
Um,
But is that available if somebody's new and thinks they might want to, you've got someplace that they can,
Yep, I would not put somebody that was new and uncertain as a head coach anyway.
no, but I mean, if somebody came to you and said, I'm really interested in coaching, but I don't know what it entails, say for soccer, I don't know any of the rules or anything, you've got places they can go
Yes.
to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Looks good to me, safety first, huh? Remind us not to get loudmouth on the sidelines.
Right.
I don't know what else you want to cover in this. I'll answer any questions you have on any of this here.
Do you
I have
any-
a woman in town who has offered to work with me on anything with the computer, to teach me, to help me out.
I offered two, you got two of us.
Yeah, but she called me the other day and said she'd be willing to spreadsheets, anything I wanna do, she'll show me how to do it, she's more than willing to help out.
I think the thing is, if you can write down, I know you say you talk to people,
Mhm.
but if you can write down what you're talking, like if you take a counselor that's gonna serve in your summer program and what you go over with them and put
Mhm.
it in some sort of format. The
Mhm.
reason being is what happens if you're, say, on an extended leave or something like that, or something happens,
Mhm.
the next person that tries to step in may
Yes.
not have that knowledge of what you've done.
Well, I think she's gonna be back, for her 4th summer, Michaela Merrill, and she's more than,
No, but I mean, if you
Yeah.
had the guidelines written, I don't doubt that you talk to
Mhm.
your people and what you do with them. But the thing of it is if something comes up, I'm gonna use the legal case, cause that's where my background is, Parker. Something comes up and somebody says, you know, you shove my head down the toilet, and then you address it, yes, but it's still this and that. You've got proof of a policy of what your people are supposed to do and not supposed to do.
yeah.
Because if you don't have something in writing to say, I go over it with them, if a case
Well,
really comes up,
again,
you're in, hung.
I am putting that together.
And that's what I
It
mean,
will
as
be in
long as
place.
you
will
get it-
be, covering everything from there, you know, as far as, social media,
Yep.
do's and don'ts. Anyone with social media going forward, I have to have access to. It's working for us. I generally have had in the past, but I'm gonna put that right in writing.
Yeah.
That I have, if anything inappropriate, you know, could be grounds for dismissal.
And how long a time frame do you think before you get all your knowledge on paper? I have no doubt that you've been
Yeah.
doing it, it's just,
Yeah,
I mean,
well-
it's not an easy project
Yeah.
to start.
That will,
I know,
I know this
I
says
know you coach and
January,
stuff.
this says January 1. I'll try, I don't know.
well, that's why I'm asking you, what do
Yeah.
you see, I mean, you're into basketball now, so soccer's
Well,
over, well.
Soccer's wrapping up
Right.
Monday. Basketball will be starting but I've gotta have a couple of weeks here where I can work on it quite a bit and hopefully get more stuff.
And you're
put
gonna
together.
pull policies from other people, so you don't have to
What's
invent,
that?
you're gonna pull policies from other people, so you don't have
Yes,
to
I-
reinvent the wheel?
Yeah, Conway is kind of the, and they don't mind if I steal from them.
Oh, I know.
But they-
Most people
they,
don't mind if you steal from them.
I've been talking to them quite a bit, and they've got the best, most expensive, covers almost everything you can think of. Nothing covers everything, there's always gonna
No,
be something
there's
should
always
pop up
gonna
that
be
you don't
something.
think about. But, yeah, so I am getting forward with that. I am going to get on the Tamworth Exchange, going to get that so we can have that stuff on there. I met with Nelson O'Brien, and he doesn't know exactly how it's going to work, if it will work, but gonna look into it some more, and we will meet again. I'll probably go to a meeting with him, with conservation possibly even, and do something similar to what they do in Sandwich, which the rec department has nothing to do with that in Sandwich. That's a
Right.
separate thing. They get a $10,000 grant. We may or may not be involved with what they do, I don't know, but I have met with them.
About what though? You meant about what? What's the program?
They do a
They
conservation
do
camp.
conservation,
It's almost like a summer camp.
it is,
Okay.
it's a week long, they do
Yeah.
it for different ages.
Yeah, in different
It's,
areas.
Both of their money
Town, a whole
comes
bunch of
from the
stuff.
Quinby town, it's all local stuff usually. You know, we do stuff with the library, we go to one, 2, or 3 of their programs this summer with the kids. We had talked about Lynn Flackus? No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Lynn
Yeah.
Blackus, yeah.
I have talked with her, we weren't able to work something out for last year, we got together fairly late on that, but we will probably do something with them. I also mentioned that to Nelson, maybe the 3 of us, you know, she could do a day program in addition to what they do. One of the things we talked about was doing it, like the week they do that, possibly suspending the summer program for a week, so that we're not fighting over the same kids, because, you know, the population of the school has dropped from a peak of 330 to 180,
Right.
184 opening day this year. Dropped below 200 for the first time last year, and it's at 184 this year, as of the first day of school. So I did meet with him,
That's K through 8.
K through 8, yeah. you know, when they had 330, they had half the school they had now. I don't know what they did with them, but.
Wow.
So I did meet with him. And I will talk to the library about, as I always do, I meet with Amy, and now I don't know if they're looking for programs the rest of the year for the library or not. I know, like, I will meet with them when we do squeaky sneakers. We do that so we don't conflict with their reading time, because that's, or whatever that age, so we don't do it on the same day. And we've always been able to do that successfully over the years. When I have upcoming registrations or whatever, I'll get posters in the transfer station, the post offices, Cook Library, like you asked me to do. Oh, before I forget, you mentioned it, and it was in the survey as well. How many hours a week do you want me to have that I'll be there at a designated time in the office so people
I
can
think
be-
that's up to you to decide. I think you need
Yeah.
to look at your schedule and say, okay.
Well, but are you,
I just think you need to look at your schedule and say, okay, even if you post it,
Yeah.
this week I'll be in the office Monday, you know, 2 to 3. Your schedule varies.
yeah,
I don't think, unless I'm wrong, I mean, I could never even schedule when I was gonna be in my office every day the same week. So,
I
but if
agree.
you post it saying
Yeah.
the week, if you do a 2-week posting saying this 2 weeks, especially around registration
I
times.
think, if possible though, I think it would be a good idea if I could nail down maybe 2 days that I could always be there, unless I was, that way, consistency. I think
Well,
is
I would
important.
say, that's your schedule. If you
Yeah.
think it would work better that you give 2
And-
days, one in the morning
Yeah.
times, and one day in the morning, and one day in the
And-
afternoon.
People will quite often drive and catch me when I'm working on the ball field, and, geez, what's going on with this, or whatever, you know. I'm there different amounts of time, different times of the year, but, so I will,
And the other thing
Put
is
together.
I think really get your email out there. I know when I email you, you answer me.
yeah,
Well, maybe it's because of me. So, but I mean, you
Yeah.
know, there are other ways to
Yeah.
communicate.
Yeah.
So if they can't get you by phone, here's the email address, you can get me and I'll get back to you. But that's, I mean, if you can pin it down to 1 or 2 days a week that you're there, you know, a morning time or an afternoon time,
Yeah.
that's up to you.
yeah.
I mean, I think it's just so they know whether you post it on a month schedule that you'll be, it's sort of hard with games and,
Yeah. There are mornings or afternoons that I could, probably set times and I could be there on a pretty consistent basis. One of the other things was there was mention of registering for online.
I'm sorry.
making your registrations available
So people could do it online.
right.
Conway does not do it. But a few towns do. Marlborough is just starting it. Ospey's been doing it for a couple of years.
When you say register online, they get all the forms and have all the forms so they can print them off.
No,
and fill
they
them out.
actually register online
Oh,
too.
okay.
And
The forms, I have no problem, that would be easy to put online so
Yeah.
somebody could print
Well,
them out.
I would love to see the forms
Well,
online,
they
especially
should-
with the new
they
website,
should-
so
Yeah.
if
All
you could
this
send
stuff
all
should be up
those
there.
to me
Yeah.
and make sure that, give me your office hours, give me
Yeah.
the hours for registration so I can post that on the website.
But with it's not free.
I don't like registration.
It's not, I don't either, and it's not free. It's, Ospey pays, $3,480 a year. And that's on top of, you gotta buy the software, they
Right,
come in and
right,
show you how to
right.
use it.
I was thinking it was more, they could
They could print their forms out and
print the
have them filled
forms
out
out
by the
or
time they come
fill
to
their forms out
registration.
and then
That
print
I
them and
agree
sign
with, but I
them.
don't like
Okay.
the registration on, I
I'm
don't
just-
like
I'm
the
just-
registration online.
Maybe I misunderstood what was in here, but that's how I interpret it, so.
No, I think it was brought up registration online, but when
Yeah.
you go and think about it back with the
And there's-
signatures required,
I
it's
was-
really difficult to
Right.
do an
It's better
email
to have
signature.
hard
I researched, there's a one called Sportsman with Peak Software, there's Rec Desk, MyRec, and they're, this one here is a $2,900 one-time cost, and then per year, and the rate you pay per year depends on your population. So Ospey with theirs was 3,400 would probably be, they're like 44. I'm guessing it would be less, I don't know how much.
Yeah,
Um,
still
yeah.
running out for.
Conway does not do it, they're.
But their forms are available online,
Yeah.
so you can print their forms out, fill them out, and then when you come to registration, it's quicker because the forms are all
Yeah.
set and everything.
Right, they can show up at registration, say, here, I've got all
Yeah.
my forms filled out, what
Okay.
else do I need to
Yeah.
have type thing. safe.
But I don't know if you want this or not, but that's the information.
I have real hesitation about that for a variety of reasons. Number one, I'm betting the Bronx has more kids involved in their rec programs than Tamworth does. And I think it's pretty good that you see a parent that maybe you haven't met before, if they come to work with you or a coach or one of your staff or something, and they look around and see who the other kids are, and, you know, that they know who their kids are gonna be with. I would just.
And I think, you know, if it's online, I don't know if people would tend to read it as quickly or as
You
thoroughly.
mean just sign
They
it?
would just get to the bottom and sign it.
Says, I agree, and
And-
here's my
and
electronic
that They can
signature.
ask me
Yeah, no, I
questions.
don't
Yeah.
see that as a positive.
I was in a conversation with you, we had to get back to school for, the school building for a registration. I think it was summer program, at
Mhm.
7 o'clock at night.
Well, it was from, I try to do it later at night like that, because that's when people are there, most people aren't working.
Yeah.
So I usually do 5:30 to 7:30, something like that.
Right, I would think at least big brother or big sister, if it came to it, a grandpa, or grandma or something, could show up in person
Yeah.
and, you know.
And in
make-
fact, when I think that time you're talking about, Michaela, who's been with me, Michaela Merrill, she's been with me, this will be her fourth, she was doing registration that night. Yeah. She's, by the way, the only person from Tamworth, not from the town of Tamworth, that I hired. And the reason I did was I had someone who had worked for me for quite a few years. She was gonna be like and she got a full-time job, and she couldn't not take it. It had to start. And so I got caught short. I had interviewed her. I told her I probably wouldn't hire her, but she wanted to go through the interview process, and she was really good, and she had great references, and people I talked with, she's been wonderful, and she's studying to be a nurse, and so she was working this summer. She was at Memorial when she wasn't working days and weekends, so she was up there, so.
Do you have your sign in and sign out forms for participation in the programs where your kids sign in and sign out when they show up?
Mhm.
Have you established that form for that?
Yeah, yeah.
So you do have that? I mean, I have it with you.
Oh,
now.
I do not, but I do have it, yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like to see continual basis of all these forms that you do have come in,
Okay.
so that we know what you do have and don't have, and then we're not sitting there
Yeah.
going, I wonder if he has that. No,
Yeah.
you've given it to us, we know.
I
you
had the
have it.
one I used this summer, but I'm gonna make a better one going forward.
Yeah.
a better
Because you said
sign.
you turned those in this summer.
You have those?
I have.
Yeah.
Somebody has
She
them.
has them,
Okay.
right,
I haven't
I
seen
knew
it,
you
so-
said you turned them
I
in.
did turn them in from the summer program.
Yeah.
And I had, but I'm gonna make a better form.
They didn't get into the read file.
No, probably not.
Yeah, so,
I thought I gave extra
You did.
copies for them.
You did,
I did.
yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Oh.
No, I didn't give them to you. They're fine.
Okay, there was, and who chaperoned on what trips.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and
I knew
the
you said
people
you got
signing
that
in and
stuff
out that
in.
are chaperones, you know, so that you know that if a chaperone left early one day, it's
Yeah.
down there so that they're
Yeah.
not gonna get in trouble for something they didn't do.
Yeah,
Uh,
but there were the sign-out sheets as well, right? Did I include those?
I don't remember.
I
I
thought
think
you
I
said
did.
you brought
Yeah,
in
everything.
the sign-up sheets for
If I
the
didn't,
summer
I'll give you
program of
copies,
who
but
signed in
I
and
thought that was
stuff.
all in one
I
packet.
thought that's what you said you did a
But
couple
if-
meetings ago.
Yeah,
They can run me some.
but if, I'll get those to you if I
Yeah.
did.
No, I have them.
You do, okay, yeah.
Have you thought about, not that I like forms, but have you thought about a form, say online, that if somebody wants to start a new program or something,
I have
ask you to
not.
start a new program?
I have not, no.
Because I know word of mouth and stuff and everything like that, but sometimes if it just, wow, I didn't think to talk to you, you know, if they just had something, or when you're putting something online saying if you can think of a program that might work in the town, to give me a call or something like that.
And like I said, over the years, I've only ever told, I mean, we've done everything from fencing to karate to aerobics to yoga to, you know, we've done a lot of different programs over the years. We've had a bridge group in the past. The only one I ever turned down was somebody wanted to do a boxing class. I just felt that wasn't appropriate.
So will you have people that are doing strong living and the Tai Chi and those types of things, will they fill out one of these?
I guess going forward, they will.
I mean, I just,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, look, anything that's current going on should be, you know, okay, we need to,
Incorporated in.
instead of not just new stuff, but anything that's current, just start catching up with with that.
Mhm.
Is Tai Chi under the auspices of the rec department?
It
or
is,
a-
well, that's
a
what I gotta
separate
figure out.
organization?
Well, I
because
mean,
they're doing
that's
it
the
at
thing,
Runnels
you need-
Hall, so I don't think it is anymore.
And
No,
they're
I
not-
don't- I was
they're
gonna
not
say, cause
in-
they're an independent international
Yeah.
company that sponsors this Tai Chi.
And they're not in our buildings.
And
Yeah,
they're
they
not
are,
in the
they're
building.
doing the townhouse one day a month.
One day a month.
Right, one Monday a month.
But that's only when Runnels Hall, that
Isn't
sounds like.
available for some.
Right, and they filled out all the proper paperwork for use in the
But that was
townhouse.
another instance of she called me and Lisa and asked if she could do it, and it got started under the umbrella of the rec department.
Right.
But I
just-
think before they joined their international, it was her starting it out that way, but now they've joined into the bigger group of,
Yeah.
they've expanded their membership, organizational membership as well, I believe.
Of course, Universal Resolite might call you up when they're having a sale on mats and, you know, you turn down boxing, but there's always other contact sports that Universal Resolite
So
provides equipment for.
you would want Kathy Rursfeld to fill out those two forms.
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
think anybody that is under the auspices of the rec program,
Yeah.
they need to, I
We
mean,
need to
number
have
one.
something on file.
Number one, so you have contacts for them, you know, all the information, you know,
Mhm.
and that they understand, you know, the liability release form,
Yeah.
you know, I
And-
mean,
and-
I feel we've got, you know, it's a pain, and I hate it. I don't like the fact that we've come into this situation where everybody wants to sue everybody about everything. But that's where we are, and we can't ignore it, because if we ignore it, we're gonna be the ones getting hit.
Because
And
that was a case of Jay Roncourt and Shelley Power came to me
Yeah.
20 years ago and said, can we do this? They got a grant from the foundation for some of the weights.
Yeah.
We bought some of the equipment for them as well, and the numbers have been up and down, and, you know, right now it's fairly low. But it's been a good program, and it's people out of the house and gets them moving.
Oh, yeah, no,
But as we found out through our liability coming, as you found out in our in-service the other day, if it isn't written down, you haven't got legs to stand on, and that's what we're looking at now, just getting everything written down.
Yeah.
and, yeah, it's paperwork.
Too much of it.
But hopefully it will, if anything happens, it'll save us mega dollars in the,
And
No,
the
our insurance
handbook,
company.
it'll be like 3 pages for
Yep.
the sports. One for the summer program will be much more, that's a much different animal. Much
Right.
more time commitment, much more liability, just because of the nature of the beast of the summer program.
I think it's just to give people an idea of what's going on and stuff, like you've got your students, participants' code of conduct and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Something to refer to. It's no different than the school handing out the student handbook and stuff. And after the first couple of times you hand it out, you may only have to put it online and leave it there and tell them that's where it's at if you wanna access it. That's what most of the schools now do. They don't print them. They say, here it is. They've got a portal so they can get online to it.
and then you sign something that you've read it and understand it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Park, I appreciate you coming in, sounds like a work in progress, and there's a lot of progress. So, absolutely. Hey, while you're out there, Coach, would you flick on the hall lights, because it's a public,
Yeah,
thank
sure.
you.
Dark on the way
Can,
It's a work session.
I'm sorry?
It's a work session. It's not a regular meeting.
I know, but I have something to bring to the board.
Oh, you,
Sure.
I thought you said, am I supposed to be here?
Oh, no, no.
No.
in. Yeah, you're always supposed to be here. Anytime we meet, you're supposed to
know.
show up.
I know. I do wanna, if I can, give you guys a heads up on something.
Would you, can we take 2
Yeah.
minutes? Well, can I have the intent to cut, which we'll do,
It's a work session.
I know. The light's not working in South Tamworth.
It isn't,
No,
damn.
The solar one?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's all.
Well, we haven't
Thank-
had,
thanks for
a
letting
lot
me
of
know.
sun.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me know, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'll go over and try, it won't be until next week, but
Yeah.
I'll get there.
Did you pull the little tab out after
And we
they
got the
did
bill
that?
for the buses,
What was that?
the bill for the buses finally for the
Yes,
summer program.
yeah.
Did you get in touch with, did you call?
Just the switch to turn on and
Are
off.
we off? Call a recess.
Yeah, I assume we're gonna have a recess till Alan walks back. I thought he was just gonna.
Can you call a recess?
Yes,
Make a motion, we recess for.
We're in
5 minutes.
recess.
Second.
Are you recessing or going into non-public?
No.
No, we're recessing.
No, we're just recessing until Aaron comes back in the room. Parker, did you get a chance to talk to Chris?
I haven't, I left. on
Okay, when is
voicemail.
convenient? Then we're gonna see you Monday or something. Holy cow.
Aaron, what about?
Well, senior.
I mean, at the, Chief.
I just wanted to bring something to your attention, and I'll limit information just because it's public, but there's some, an ongoing situation, I should say. It's actually not even a case of ours that's garnering a ton of media support. Primarily Facebook, but I think Foster's has picked it up, WMUR may not have picked it up. It has to do with residents of our town who, essentially the court has awarded guardianship of their kids to,
I've
you're
seen
smiling because you've probably seen it on Facebook.
it wasn't on WMUR, but it's been
I don't
picked
think
up
it's
by a
made
lot
it
of
there yet.
others.
Some outlets are like limited in releasing the information. But they are residents of our town. The guardianship was awarded to the grandmother of the children. So they've not made the kids available to turn over the kids to the grandmother. So they're in contempt of court. There's also a bunch of other charges pending on them. But it is being handled. We have no information or no reason to believe they're actually in town. We've checked sites where we believe they may have been, including their own property. But as far as our involvement goes, we're limited, and we've gone to involve other agencies and put out information and broadcast whatnot. So just so the board is aware, if something comes to a big splash of Tamworth, this is an ongoing situation that's sort of ebb and flow and evolving and can change, but
Because when I saw it on social media, I went back to your site, because usually if something's up like that, it's on
Yeah.
your site, and it
Yeah.
wasn't. I went, oh, is this real or not real? But it.
Yeah, grandmother is garnering a lot of support. I don't want to speak to what information is out there, but, that being said, there is court orders out there for them to turn over the custody of the children.
And who handled this case? Who's the-
Sheriff's office technically has, because they were the ones that executed the original ex parte order, and, have come up empty-handed with the kids, so.
DCYF.
That was in the initial, but essentially there's a bunch of agencies technically involved, and we're staying involved, because,
If you need us, we're
it's an
here.
interest of our town and
Yeah.
whatnot, so.
Thank you.
We're putting out information as best possible with, as far as law enforcement agencies go and stuff like that.
The answer to my question might be it's none of my business. Does the holder of the guardianship, are they close enough to the town line that the kids can continue in Brett school if they're students?
They're not schooled.
Thank you.
They're homeschoolers.
Okay.
It's just the information out there it is hard, because it
And I
says
can't
if
speak to the
you,
information that's out there,
the one I saw
whatnot,
said
but,
contact Tamworth 911, and I'm going, well, that's wrong right there, because Tamworth
Yeah.
doesn't have a 911 thing, so.
we jointly put out a statement through the county attorney's office, ourselves and the sheriff's office and the county attorney. On behalf of the county attorney, put out the statement, there are, court orders that, demand they turn over custody of the kids. There are warrants pending, for the father and, there are warrants, not pending, there are warrants for the father and mother, for failure to comply. And then anybody having information of their whereabouts can contact the dispatch sheriff's office. But I wanted to bring it to your attention just because
Appreciate the heads up,
it
Chief.
could come to, a big splash with Tamworth as a headline, even though it really has no involvement in our town, so to speak. And we have no reason to believe they're even living in town at this moment.
This could help with
I mean, the information's out there to law enforcement agencies, there's, you know, that will have contact with them to do the right thing and so on and so forth, so.
Thanks, Chief.
Good.
Okay,
Thank you.
Hi, Deb.
that's all I got.
I'm already late.
Yeah, coming on.
Have a good night.
Yeah,
See you later.
Hope it went well.
it did.
Thanks.
With your forbearance, we have an intent to cut map 212, lot 20. The access is on Route 41, Plains Road. Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Sounds like they want to cut, I think that's that big lot,
Not that big.
between the board, between the east side of Skiing Beach and Pine Tree Power.
Well, the owners are in Austin, Texas, so.
Would you like to do this before we do?
You did talk about the municipal building committee. Do you have other members that you want to do appointments for yet?
Not
or-
yet, no.
Okay.
I've gotta make some phone calls.
So you're not,
Second.
so you are working on that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I mean,
But
I
she
get
can
'em-
post the first meeting, can't she, Willie?
Oh,
I
yeah.
can do that, yes.
Yeah.
And what
I
day
might
is
have
that
done
again?
actually. The 19th.
The 19th, and I mean, it'd be really nice if one of the
Thank you.
members of the select board was also there as a member of.
Well, I said I represent the select board for your meetings, but I can't be there the 19th because I'm
Oh,
going to be
right.
in town.
Oh, okay.
So
And Dan is your alternate? Is that the way it was?
Dan didn't say whether we wanted to do it or
Yeah.
not. He was Willie's alternate before Willie
Right.
took over this committee.
Well,
Let's,
I mean,
if you get the chance, would you talk to, that's legit, it's a procedural thing that you
Ask
and
Dan if he wants to be an alternate to me.
Sure.
Sure. that's
Or
fine.
vice versa, if you want to, well, we can send, no, 3 people would be much.
The only reason I had agreed to do it is because we've talked about this building through joint loss a lot,
right.
so.
Well, I think the first meeting's gonna be more organizational.
Right.
What things do we need to get and
Mhm.
get done, and hopefully
Okay.
it'll snap along.
Next.
The advisory committee, the budget advisory committee last year handled all the outside agency information. Do you want to see those again? Or do you want to see them as well, or you just,
I would
because I
let,
get 6 copies and I was going to give them to the advisory committee.
I would let the advisory do it. We didn't have any
I will
no
have a
offense, starting
copy.
out last year, we didn't have any problems. They came in to see us. The only ones we brought forward to the selectmen were the ones we had questions about.
Yeah, we have, I have, certainly have a copy of it here.
I mean,
You
that would
wanna
be
see
good
it?
if we had a copy in
I
the
have a
file so that we
copy.
can look at it and see
Yeah,
what's going on.
And let me know whenever
And
you want
then-
to look at it. I have it, I'll give them the
As long as they
other
do that
ones.
the same way. I mean, if they question what they're asking for, because like we had
We have one new one.
TriCap come in because it didn't make any sense what they were trying to present.
And we still didn't get the information.
And we didn't
And won't-
approve
and won't
it.
again.
Are you all in favor of hiring Gatehouse IT to remove those hard drives? for
I'm
me?
not.
I don't know them.
My
They were in
question-
they were in the local listing book, and that's how why we
My
called
only
them.
question about that is, so since you don't know anything on the hard drives, you want the information to be looked at on the hard drive?
Right, and I'll look at
Okay.
it. To see if, and we probably need to keep it.
I have a problem, and I know Brian Forsey's I've done work with him. The difficulty here is, we don't know what's on the hard drives, and some of that might be,
That's why, I'm not gonna destroy them till I look at it.
Because,
No, what I think Steve's coming to is some of maybe confidential
I-
information that
right.
couldn't be released. And
We've-
if you're
we've
got
had
an
a-
outside person looking at,
well,
it, but if
then
he
you
can
haven't
set
signed,
you up.
you haven't signed a confidentiality
Well,
statement.
he said he would say, you'd be able to set us up with what do you call it, channel? So it would go into my, or a computer here, and then
So he
I
would, so he
be
wouldn't see
looking
it.
at it, right,
I would,
it'll be here.
we've had an unfortunate incident in this town about, what I know was privileged
Well-
communication, and to ask a layperson, especially a town resident,
Okay.
to work with. I think that's
Then why don't I get,
heavy burden.
I'll just get Armand out here.
I'd like to.
Armand's no
Armand's
different
no different than Brian
than
Forcier.
different Brian
But he doesn't-
Bursing. He's
No
still
different.
a
But
lay
he was saying he's
personnel.
down- He doesn't live here.
This is
Doesn't
a-
matter.
uh,
Release of confidential information is release of confidential information.
So then what's the problem?
That's
with-
my question.
With me just doing it?
Well, if you wanna turn them on and drain your hard drive and then have somebody look at those hard drives, I mean, you have to turn every computer on to look at the hard drive.
You don't have to turn it on, he said you could just channel into a different computer, cause half of them I don't even know the password, I can't even get in there right now.
Well, you can't do that yourself. That's what I'm saying. It takes an IT person to break a password code and they may not be able to.
Right,
Well,
but
To
there's a way
manually get
there's
rid
a
of
way to
them.
do it, so that you don't have to turn the on, according to Brian. You know, I'm not an IT person, I don't know.
And that's the,
I mean, I guess my concern would be if Brian was sitting there looking through this stuff. But if he can
From
be
what
set
he
up,
under-
if it can
from-
be set up so that he's not seeing it, but you're getting to see it.
From what I understand, that's what would happen, is he would not be looking at it, and it doesn't have to be me, it could be one of you guys.
well,
Well-
but the bottom line is, no matter who you use, they would have to sign a confidentiality statement, so that
Well,
if
that's
anything
fine.
was released, you have something to go after them with. One, but two, it's gonna take an IT person to set it up so they
Right.
can link you, that's also.
Absolutely, no, I know
Yeah.
that, right,
I'm
I'm,
not smart.
I mean, the hardware stuff,
No
once
idea.
they link you and you get that stuff off one computer to the other, it's no problem, take a hard drive out and smash it. We don't need him to
right, yeah.
take care of the hard drive afterwards, we just need to know what the data is on those hard drives.
Well, we can,
So who would you have
Who
do
would
it,
you-
Steve?
who do you wanna have
I mean,
do it?
how would you handle this?
Tomorrow, I'll call the Attorney General and tell him the situation we're in and ask him what the appropriate
oh, I'll get,
ways to do this is, because there's a 3 terabit hard drive someplace in this building that I think that nobody should look at. It should go to, we should get an opinion from the Attorney General or the Sheriff or somebody as to who does and doesn't. You know, I hate to put temptation in anybody's path. I don't know if the computers were running off of our server,
I don't
which
even know
means
whose
they
they
were
were.
backed up on our server, and but I understand that we can't willy-nilly take a
We should
4-pound hammer
I'll,
to the thing on an anvil, but
I'll make some more calls to see if I can get some information for you, Steve,
it just certainly
for your concerns.
Well, and see, that connotates, I hate to say it, but some sort of procedure that when somebody leaves, the passwords and the computer are transferred to an existing,
I honestly don't even know whose computers they
Right.
were.
Right.
I have no idea, they're so old.
we
There
have.
could be nothing on them, I don't know.
We have a policy that you gotta, you know, you're supposed to do that, but if one person doesn't keep up with that, then leaves under good or bad circumstances, they can put us back in this position.
One thing that I didn't have on my list was, I was reviewing the procedures for appointed committees, and, the way I'm reading this, it looks like you have to be a town resident to be on committees, and
here,
maybe.
if you wanna review it, it's under
Yeah, I
number
read
one,
another one, actually.
Go ahead about this.
down at the bottom.
No, I
of
didn't
number
send it
one,
'cause
says
they-
a resident
Sure.
will.
Can we get copies and,
So we can talk about it next time if you'd like, but I'm,
Sure.
I'm just curious whether you want to rethink that, or if I'm reading it.
boy,
I think-
volunteers run the place.
Because we do have a few that are not residents.
Well, except none of our committees would deal, none of the advisory committees, no committees would deal with non-public information, correct?
Mm-mm.
No,
No.
They would not.
no,
No.
they
Yeah,
shouldn't
so-
be,
Yeah, so I would
If
think,
they are, we're in trouble.
Yeah,
and they don't make monetary decisions.
Right.
right.
Um,
So I don't really know that it's an issue, and maybe we just need to
But
change
you
the
just might
wording.
wanna slash it to say volunteer.
Right,
Someone that volunteers, because, again, if it's not somebody that lives in the town, I guess if somebody from another town wants to volunteer to help out a
Sure.
committee in this town,
Sure.
due to expertise, or why not?
Right.
Why shouldn't they be allowed to?
And the town's been well served by volunteers.
So I think just on 1 and 2 on that, it needs to just say down on the second, right here. That's the only place the residency is mentioned.
Well, why don't we get one of these in our box and do some homework, and if we
Yeah,
have changes
review
to
it.
That's
make,
fine.
we'll.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine, yeah, I didn't need you to make a decision today, I just
Yeah,
wanted you to
okay.
know what I was thinking about.
Because those are the only 2 lines where the word resident is used.
One of it says, I thought it said
1 and
Tamworth
2.
citizen.
A voting
Somewhere.
member of a committee shall be a resident of the town.
We'll find out when we do our homework. What's next?
So, the,
Thank you for contacting Chris Conrad on the.
are you all set with, are you okay with that?
I'm happy
Can I
with that,
tell
sure,
them-
that's
and
fine.
What budget's that gonna come out of?
Um,
Because municipal, well, we
Municipal
do have
building
money right out of there.
budget.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
They've got money in there, and next
Yeah.
year
He was
it'll
very
just have to
happy
be
to do it.
addressed.
Yeah, good, and so I'll touch base with him and get him,
Very knowledgeable,
Yeah,
too.
he already-
yeah.
So, I think that's all for me.
On
Except for-
the memorandum to the, about the Tamworth residents' transfer station changes, if everyone would be so kind as to read this over, and if you have changes to make. it'd be
I
nice.
put it in your box earlier, it's what Willie had stated the other day.
Oh, I have
And then,
Oh,
so
I read
I
it.
was, if it's
Right
okay with
there.
this, I was gonna just put it on the, oh, I
Okay.
changed that.
Good.
I changed that one.
it. Say do it.
This
I
one.
thought it looked good.
I haven't
Yeah.
read it real.
And this is the one
There are a
that
couple typos.
Dan asked also that you contact Susie Stowbridge to get it up on the exchange.
On the exchange, and I was gonna put on the website, I'll do that now. You ready with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think that's great, it can be in a separate place, but I think it also needs to get into that policy, because the policy, transfer station stuff
You want
states.
on that policy
Well,
itself?
the way it states it, you've got 2 conflicting documents. You've got one that says we will recycle stuff, and then this one says don't do it. You've got 2 conflicting. It
Oh,
needs-
wait a minute, the one I just redid, that,
Yeah.
Yeah, it still says we recycle.
well, we're still recycling cans,
Still doing some recycling.
there's
it's
Right,
still
not-
some recycling.
But I guess, where the hell did I go?
Cans, cut. Yeah,
Yeah, that.
aluminum cans,
But you see-
corrugated cardboard, batteries, brush,
The following must be recycled, aluminum part, okay.
and that's.
All right, so
Right,
it
that
did,
is
it did
true.
come out of there, okay.
Yes, it
sorry.
came out.
I just,
Yeah,
I was looking at too much paper with that.
Give him back his paper.
yeah, give it back that paper.
Okay.
And this is what we're gonna,
So it doesn't-
this is what we're gonna present at the public hearing,
Public
just
hearing.
like this. I'll
So
have
this is a
some,
cover letter.
I'll have some of these
Yeah.
available for everybody. Okay,
And that would then go into effect, when are we thinking, so we're gonna do the public hearing on the 15th of November?
And we'll have copies sitting on the
So-
chairs.
I'll put copies out here
Sure.
right
but-
now.
Could I ask also that maybe you have Glenn post this out at the transfer
I will
station?
do that as well. And I thought I'd put it
Because I
everywhere.
saw the sample ballot out there, which made me think, wow, maybe this should go out there too. so
Oh, yeah,
people
no, I'll
know.
put that all around town, I just wanna make sure it was all right for the,
I mean, unless
what you
there's
guys
something
wanted
I,
to say.
that's in here, typo that I missed.
Municipal safety building, by the way.
I think we talked about that already.
Yep, that's done. Spectrum agreement,
Ah,
I'm still waiting on a return phone call.
Well, that's what I guess I wanna know where we are with, in what direction are we gonna go, cause I'm not doing much of anything right
Um,
Don't take the lines down.
Yeah, right.
now. You're what?
I told them take the lines down.
But the way it's
So
gonna
you're
the
waiting
lines
on a
down.
phone call from,
I
Brookfield?
I forget who I called last, was either Brookfield or Albany. If Albany has that, either I don't know how you negotiate, and unless, well, I don't know how to negotiate, but I sent a message to that Brookfield fellow who was looking to get some regional folks involved in the negotiation. My first choice would be to get Albany's either 3-year contract or 3-year proposed contract to work off, because if they're gonna get it, we're not too far afield from Albany that I believe we could get it to, although this whole broadband thing, Spectrum, and we'd have to do that in discussions with them. Spectrum's advertising broadband effectively, 100 meg. And I don't, you know, $29 a month until next month when it's $29,000 a month. I don't know, I don't have cable, I don't know how it works, but at least we have to sit down with them and ask them what's coming down the road and what's not.
But the
Well,
only
that's-
thing we have is a cable franchise for TV.
That's the only thing
That's
they
all
pay the
we've got.
franchise for. They're not gonna franchise out internet or phone, because also
Right.
now, you know, Spectrum's offering, you get your phone
Just-
hotspot
just the
Wi-Fi
TV.
too, so it's only cable, and cable's going by the wayside, so the franchise fees are gonna go down, down, down.
Okay.
And I mean, the question is, how do we right this ship so that, in fact, what they are providing mostly now is internet? That's really what they're providing,
Yep.
because most people are using the internet to get whatever they want to watch on TV.
Well, they're also getting cable.
Well, they get cable too, but I mean, it's a,
Well, not if you have a smart TV. If you have a smart TV, you have to download the Spectrum app so you can get cable TV.
It's cheaper to get TV and internet than it is to get internet.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
figure.
Yeah.
but it's because
But,
they
like,
make
we
it
had
happen.
this
We're still
discussion.
waiting for phone calls, and we still wanna get together with other towns, is that?
I would contact Albany, like Steve said, and get what they last got for an
These are-
agreement if they would share it. I know they said they went 3. They wanted, what, 7 or something, and they got it down to 3. But like Lily said at one of our meetings, we're not gonna increase our franchise fees, because if you increase the franchise fees, they might bump them up a little, but you're only taking it out of the people that already have the
Right.
stuff anyway.
Right.
Right.
It would be interesting to know if Spectrum would change somewhat into, like you said, into the internet, because cable is gonna go by the wayside and franchise fees are going out the window.
Right. So I'm gonna call Albany.
Well, let her get it from the Albany.
I'll go fetch it. I mean, if they tell me I can come up Monday and get a copy as opposed to,
That's fine.
I'll go fetch it. And then, once we have some information from the area as to whether or not the Brookfield has, I know Ossipee was not interested in doing it.
Well, I don't, because they were already involved with another regional group trying to deal it, and I don't even know if they managed to get settled out yet. Did Ospey, do you know, Darlene, did Ospey actually get theirs settled out? I thought they
Yeah.
were still,
They're still working on it.
yeah, they're still working on it, so there's 5 towns involved in that one as a conglomerate group, I believe.
Oh,
The broadband's totally different. I mean, Albany's, like I said, Steve Knox talked to me, because Albany was looking at going broadband, what could be laid out for broadband to expand it. Effingham the same way and stuff, so I don't know if Steve is going to try and do something now, because, don't call me a liar, but did he resign as chairman of the farm committee? So he's gonna have more time on his hands now. He's been chairman of that for 5 years, I think. I don't know if that's where he's headed or not, but he is keeping me in the loop with the emails. And he said
Good
they
deal.
had met with Mary, the same person that came up here, and said that you can get together and work on the proposal, what you wanna see. There's no New Hampshire law saying you can't do that. It would only come to the funding that the laws would have to be changed to allow group towns to go together. And they're looking at the Vermont example that was set.
right.
And Brookfield is waiting for you to call.
Brookfield?
Yeah, I
Oh,
I
no
called
kidding.
Rich Zacher Tuesday, that you were looking for him.
Okay.
Rich Zacher is the person you're talking about.
I had that number and it
Yeah.
was not his personal, I got the number sitting on my table, but I left a message on the town hall, wherever I called into. I'll
I
absolutely
just
call the
texted.
guy.
I don't wait.
The only question is, has Spectrum given us an ultimatum? I know they've
Not
sent a
yet.
few grams at us saying
They've sent
you
a
need to
few.
get going,
Right.
but, okay.
No, but I'm sure the next one's gonna be.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the contract goes on until it's either renewed or totally canceled.
Except that they can decrease your franchise fee if they need to.
They can decrease your what?
It doesn't have to stay the same contract, they can go with what they're commonly doing with their contracts at present time.
I think the master plan is done. I went through chapter 3 to 1742, wherever it ends, and searched out selectmen, and came up with almost nothing that Becky hadn't provided us with. And I believe that almost everything here is either in process, done, or was considered by a variety of people and said, no, we're not gonna do that.
Well, what do we do from there, though? Do we send it back to the planning board and say, the ones that we said, nope, we're not gonna do that, tell them to take it out of the plan? Because we had made comments on some of the stuff that shouldn't be in the master plan, because it wasn't gonna happen and stuff when we were going over those pages.
Well, dealing with it is if, for instance, the zoning, planning board prepared all those materials, and then knowing full well it was not gonna pass because the people in favor of zoning were against it, and the people that it wasn't enough, and the people against zoning, it was too much. So the whole thing was withdrawn at the Brett School, good attendance. So the fact that they went through the process in order to comply with that number 1 article, that's a done deal. That's over. Master plan might be there, but it's not, you know, that, they attempted that, it failed. So that's complying, that's, you know, doing your best, and if the folks, you know, if the town clearly would not support it, or if they vote not to support it, that's your obligation under the master plan.
Well, and zoning is a planning board issue, not a selectmen's issue.
But it was under the selectmen's purview under
But
the
it
master plan.
is-
I agree with
It
you.
is
You
a
know,
planning board thing.
It's a planning board issue. I mean,
Right, but that's
others.
true with some of these.
But I'd say, are we gonna contact, is this group gonna contact the selectmen and say, yay, we've reviewed all our chapters and we see no changes, or no, we've reviewed our chapters and we think some of these changes ought to be made to the master plan, because that's what they asked for the review for, is because they're updating the master plan.
Actually, I think that was part of the deal, but they haven't acted on that. There is no master plan committee currently. The CIP requires that when they collect information and budgetary requests, capital or whatever, from the various departments, one of the things they're supposed to do is assess whether or not the departments have complied with the master plan. And complying does not mean I'll do what you told me to do. It means I'll take my best shot at that and if it fails because the voters say no.
Well, I think
It's a
we should
guiding
at least
document.
send a letter to the planning board or something, saying we've reviewed the master plan and we know where we stand on what, because Pat wanted to know what the selectmen, told us to have the selectmen review
Right.
their portions of the master plan, either update it, change it, or say it's
Right.
completed. So we've got some things that we know is completed
Absolutely.
and,
And I've got some.
So have we got a response to them?
that's what I mean, we need a
We
response
have,
to
Sure.
them.
we have
So-
not responded to them.
Right.
Can, I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm not enough up on that. I've been dealing with other things. Is there some way that somebody can put together a response so that we can look at it and then go,
Well, I
let's
think-
send this response?
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
say, if Steve's done the other 7 chapters that needed reviewed, then I think
Well,
he's
there's
got the
almost
most.
nothing there, although I do have some that were done. And, you know, what I could do is
Summarize it.
would you, is this on your computer?
Yeah.
If you would, if I can get one of these, I'll add a couple, 3 in here. You know, a case in point here is the broadband issue, which they say, you know, is master plan. The only place I can find is in the survey results.
It's in that,
It's here?
it's in chapter 3.
Uh-huh.
That says the selectmen will provide broadband through the town, and that's
Didn't-
gotta be somehow,
Didn't,
that's the one I said not completed or something.
didn't go back, well, I did a little bit of chapter 3.
Well,
Because
that
there was
was-
something in.
yeah, that's the
in
chapter
sub-
3.
Sub 6 and sub 9, which is 3 selectmen, but I'll go through it. And I've got some additions.
But I'd just like to let them know, because
Right,
she's
we
brought it
ought-
up a second time
Get it
about
so
the
we can-
master
so
plan,
we
so
can
we
get
can
it off
say
our
it's
list.
done, we've reviewed it, and
Yeah,
these are
we
the
need to get
it off
changes
the list.
where we think we've done, where we're not done, and where we're never gonna go.
Right.
And the planning board.
Well,
not done with their-
I know.
Sure.
Trust me.
Would you say the planning board what?
Isn't done with their going through it either yet, so.
Yeah. But it'd be nice if we can check it off our list, so it's
before
not
they
our
do-
problem.
Yeah, right.
That's the key, you know?
Okay, I'll try and get on that. I mean, probably not tomorrow, but
Well,
I'll get on
Do you
that.
know that, you know that as well, don't you,
I believe
Darlene?
I do, yeah.
But I think it's number 10 or 12 on there, Steve, that's the broadband in that chapter. We can look afterwards.
Number what?
I don't know, 10 or 12, it was something I put in green that it wasn't done. I believe, or blue, that means it's not done. Not even started, I don't think.
So,
The case in point is require recycling. But on the advice of the transfer station superintendent, we don't have mandatory recycling in this town, never did.
But see, and that's the thing, the master plan shouldn't be written like that, and stuff like that should be pointed out to them.
Right,
It should be, make a bit, you know, it should monitor for ability to recycle, not mandatory, because the minute they say mandatory, it's why aren't we mandatory? Recycling.
And we're supposed to consider all of these, but I wonder on the issue of the per diem handyman, I wonder if we shouldn't ask that of we discussed that briefly with the individual department heads on the 5th or whatever that is.
well, I think we can. I think I don't think we're gonna make any decision tonight, but pulling the information together gave me a better handle on
Yeah.
what we actually need for work out there. And not included in that, I said, was painting, minor carpentry, some landscaping, and trash to the transfer station.
Changing of light bulbs
I mean,
and
right. A lot of the
fixing of
stuff,
toilets.
a lot of the stuff, they don't, we just pulled through what
Right,
other departments
I'm
did
not-
for the year.
I'm not
Right, right.
criticizing anything,
No,
but
right.
when I look at this, I look at, okay,
There's a lot more
I
stuff that
take
can be
and
done.
add another
Right.
$5,000 roughly to the snow shoveling, because that's what we're gonna be paying this year,
Mhm,
above what we were paying
absolutely.
last year. When you
Yep.
do that, now you're up to $27,000 in work,
Right.
and if you take, I mean, I did the 22 before I came to the
You take the
27.
painting and.
But if you were paying somebody $15 an hour, that's
Mhm.
1,516 hours of work.
Right.
And it does not make it so that necessarily cost effective yet, unless you include some other things in there, because we're paying people at the rate of $24 an hour to
Well,
do these.
plus-
Exactly, right.
Plus,
and
not
that's-
only are we paying people, but we're pulling departments away from the jobs that they should be having time to do. Because
Right,
every time you
so-
pull some, and it's not your fault,
No, I
it's
know,
nobody's
I know,
fault.
right.
But every time you pull somebody in here to change a light bulb or fix the toilet or, you know,
Yep.
change the filters in the furnace, you're pulling somebody away from what their department job is already.
Yep.
But we also have to realize if you go to a full-time position, our town employees have the right to have health insurance. And so that adds
But
on
that's
to
why it says
Now, and I don't know in
part-time.
these figures whether that was included, was the value of their health insurance, or is that just their wage?
No,
Just their
because we
wage.
were.
So
it
it
was
would
just
not
their
be,
wage.
I mean, you have to consider that if you're considering what the value
So,
is.
to
But I
start
think this was
with,
gonna
she
be a
said per diem,
part-time.
and we said part-time less than 32 hours.
Right. I'm just
Right,
trying to throw out the whole picture.
Mhm.
but I think I
And-
would rather sell it as a part-time under 32 hours, so there are no benefits involved.
Well, what I looked at is in the custodial, year-round, there was about 572 hours spent. And on the lawns, there was 170 hours spent in the summer. And then in the winter, it's 184. With Good Neighbor Fence using the same pay scale, it's about 285 hours.
But what I'm saying
So-
is,
I'm just trying to picture,
but how much are you gonna pull away from other departments would play into that too. I mean, if you use a handyman only to cut the grass here versus cut the grass at,
oh,
you know.
I'm
I would feel better starting it out as a part-time under 32 hours. I think that would be the way to start it out and then see if there truly is enough business,
To keep them busy.
yeah.
right, so.
Winter, probably more hours than summer. if you really look at it,
Well,
because you
the
have
thing
to
is,
have a
if you're
chance
gonna
to
have them
print.
doing the custodial, there's, you know, a certain amount of hours every week you gotta work,
Yeah.
you know, type thing. I mean, it's, so it would be, you know, it could be a perfect job for somebody. But if you're not gonna have benefits and everything, you're gonna have to pay a higher wage scale too, you know,
Maybe, maybe
to
not.
make it work for 'em.
More homework.
Right, but I mean, it's a good process
So
to
what
get
other,
going.
yeah, what other things do you need to see? I started putting together a job description, very basic.
I would not like to, I would not like to make a decision on creating another part-time job in town before I see where the budget takes us.
Right, well, this is, we're just getting ready for the budget process, so now we have the information.
You know, some of those things would require a change in job descriptions. We have department heads or employees who do some of that stuff in their job. So,
Yeah.
Well, but as we know, all the job descriptions
They
need to be
changed.
looked at,
They
which
need
we
to be
were,
updated.
we
Yeah.
were wondering is, again, on the 5th, when they come in, that as we're doing department head evaluations, we hand them a job description and say, scribble out of this what you no longer do, and put into it some of the stuff you do, and get it back to us maybe by the first of the year. Because these job descriptions have not been reviewed in quite some time, well, what, 2000?
A lot of them were still 2010.
Yeah, 8s, 9s, and 10s, and their jobs have changed considerably since that time frame.
additional business to come before the meeting, which is now pretty late.
One quick question.
Sure.
How much time do you think you want for everybody on the 5th? I was scheduling about half an hour. I scheduled an hour for Dana because he's got 3 people he'll be talking to you about. Maybe is that too long?
Well, he doesn't
And then
have more
how-
employees than Richard does.
And I was gonna say I did about 45 minutes for Richard, but I could do 45 minutes for,
Richard doesn't have,
Richard's got 3. And Dana's got
Four.
Kevin.
Richard Roberts.
Mhm. And Dana has 3, so. He's not gonna do the new one, cause he hasn't done a 90-day review for him yet.
4, 3.
3.
And
So-
they're not, part-timers are not on the list.
Oh, I think so.
Should be.
We discussed
Should be.
part-timers.
Should be.
Of course you evaluate part-timers.
Should be.
Well, Richard has,
No,
Which-
no,
Oh, no,
seasonal
those
versus
are-
part-time
right,
is
no.
different. He has
Yeah, he's just-
seasonals,
He has
Yeah.
per diems, he doesn't do those.
right,
Well,
he has
Dana has a
seasonal per
part-timer.
diems. Huh?
Dana has a part-time.
That's what we were talking about,
The lady?
3.
Yeah.
And she
Oh.
said he's not doing, but he's got the part-time police, the
Yeah, he's not doing the
assistant,
guy.
and the,
He's just
and
not doing
then
the new,
The
he's
guy
not
who
doing the
just-
new guy, so he still
Only
has a
been here.
part-timer.
Yeah,
and his assistant. So it's a half an hour sound okay, and then maybe an hour for Dana and
I'd say 45
45 minutes for Dana and Richard, okay.
No, they'll be out here at noon. Hopefully it doesn't go past that.
Hopefully it'll be before that, well
Okay.
before
And-
What
that.
time are we starting?
The only thing I might wanna
I
try,
said 9.
8.
8.
8.
and we're coming in here with a completed evaluation of the chief, of the department head.
Mhm.
And then we're supposed to pool them to come up with I'm not sure how this works.
You know, one of the bad things that we probably didn't do and should have done was hand each department head a copy of the evaluation, say, fill out your own evaluation.
I can have him do that.
Tell us what you think you're doing.
Okay, so now we have 6.
But we, you know, you have your own so that you've got some reference, because in the middle of it, you know, you're trying to cram all these people into a short period of time. You want to be able to pull out Joe's form and go, okay, these are the questions I had.
Fine.
Pete, these are the questions I had. You know,
Great.
and then if one person combines that all into one form, you make a decision, you go down through and go, board goes, yes, no.
When does
yes.
that happen? At the end of the interview?
As you're doing it. I
Well,
would
see,
say.
I've never done jobs
and again,
interviews
you
like
know,
this. I've always had the interview completed. This is something I thought we
Well,
were going to do ahead of time.
right.
Is we were gonna go and go,
I
okay,
agree.
this is what I think, this is what I think. And then when they came in, we had already done all the tallying up and we had the job eval ready to go with them, because otherwise you're gonna have to call them back again after we
See, no,
tally
did
it.
The
I
last
see.
year
I see
we
what
did
you're
it as
saying.
we were sitting there.
And see, I don't see it even
I
now.
see what you're saying,
Right.
is we should be.
We should have
meeting
had
ahead
all
of
this
the-
done this
Meeting before
week,
this.
We should
and
be
then
ahead
we
of
call
them.
them in and
So let's
say,
push it out.
I
So
think,
we don't have to
I
do it on the
think that's,
fifth.
I mean,
I like that, because then we're
Because
on the
we
same
talk,
page.
We all have
and
a
you
group.
can do that in
It's a group
non-public, you
speaking.
can,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can hold a non-public for an evaluation.
Yeah.
And then you come up and we tally up their final report amongst our talking and everything and stuff. And then when they come in, we've got a grid scale already for them. If they wanna dispute it, then you talk and say, okay, tell me why this shouldn't be a 2, it should be a 3.
Then let me suggest on the fifth, keep your meeting on the fifth, it's already posted for 8 o'clock. Do that. I'll have the department heads have their, employees' evaluations done
In him.
into
We can look
you,
at
so you
those.
can look at those on the fifth. We'll set up another meeting for you to meet with the department heads at a later date.
But also on the 5th, we're gonna have our evaluations already written.
Yes,
Yes,
and
we're
you're-
gonna
and you are
evaluate
gonna
all the
talk about
department
that.
heads and we'll talk about them and come up with a final copy of Val so that when the department head comes in, we're not sitting here, well,
What do you think, what do you think?
and then
There's-
having him
there's
sit
no
here
way
for
to-
20
There's no way to
minutes.
do it if we show up with, unless we're gonna, add them up and divide by 5.
And
which
have
I
him
think
sit here
is-
the whole time while we're doing it.
Which is pretty much
Which is a
what
waste of
happened.
time. Yeah, well, see, I would just have it done, and when the department head comes in, if they look at it, we can go over it, say this is why we did it, and if they have a disagreement with how we rated them, then we can talk about it with them.
That's
And I
fine. So
think
let's
that-
do that instead.
My
We'll
other
work-
question
work
I
that.
had, which I asked Darlene, is, as we got through our last meeting, is goals or a performance improvement plan. We don't have any paperwork regarding that.
Right, from their last revals.
Or they haven't set,
Evaluation.
she said they haven't set goal papers or performance improvement
really.
things, but
So did
There are
you use
certain
these
things-
forms?
We did use these forms, and on the back, on the back of it, some people wrote
but
goals.
Primex does have a form that they said they used in our inserts.
So I'll be very happy to get you those old evaluations.
Well, I mean, I think it would be important to look at
Mhm,
those.
I agree.
So that when you're saying, somebody said they were,
Mhm.
what did they accomplish in their goals last year? Well, you don't know what the goals were, you have to put down 0.
Well, and the same thing, you don't know what they're looking for, and it sometimes
I'll have
impacts
those- I'll have
budget,
those
because,
ready
like
on
I
the
said,
5th. I don't want them going out.
say.
Oh, no.
Say Richard didn't have everybody CDL trained and he wanted to, well, by the time you send him to a course, you get that all set up, the cost of it, there's an impact in the budget.
The other thing, we are gonna have to probably set up a special meeting, unless I can maybe take some time on the 5th if I get my numbers together, for the insurance. We need to decide, open enrollment starts in another couple weeks. We need to decide if we're gonna keep the same plans, if we're gonna do cost sharing differently. I just got those numbers from Peter today,
Yeah,
of
so-
the other new plans.
Oh, there's
So-
more than what you sent already? You sent something this morning with the health trust plans. For-
Mm,
You sent the one that I think that he said, please email me the rates. Did you get a new
Yes,
set?
I know,
Okay.
but what I have additional plans we can choose from.
Oh, okay.
All we had the other day was the 2 that we already offered.
What is it now, 93% we pay?
7, yeah.
The
We
employee
pay
pays-
93,
yeah,
the
town
employee pays 7.
93.
Yeah.
And
To
like I
the
said,
single person,
like I said last year, budget committee, that is unheard of
yes.
in this state. Most everybody has gone 80-20.
And I think we need to look at those that are not full-time. Is there some different
Mhm.
way of
So-
calculating their insurance?
Right,
I mean, because that's quite a benefit for not working full 40. You're working, 3/4 of the time and
yeah,
getting.
they're paying 80%, or
They're
they're paying
paying
20% of,
Ouch.
20% more of, it's hard to explain.
So people that are modified
They're-
full-time that are on
They're
insurance.
paying a little bit more than.
They pay more
They're paying a
for
little
their
bit more,
insurance than the
yes, they do.
7%.
Mhm.
Substantially.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it's already been factored
Mhm.
in that they're not getting full insurance.
The
Right.
question comes down to the 7.93%
Yeah.
breakdown.
Right, and those are the discussions you need to have,
Right.
in whether we, offer a different plan that's
Less
less
expensive.
expensive, We still offer that very expensive plan that most people have stayed on.
Yeah.
There's only a few that moved to the lower plan, so those are all discussions that we probably need to have sooner than later.
Yeah, because budget season's right around the corner.
And we need to do the open enrollment, and we need to have people in and see what we're offering.
The only other thing I'd like to keep on the agenda at some point is the joint loss sheets for things that need to be addressed,
Yes,
because some of those are money items.
Everything's money.
They certainly are. Further business. For the love of God, would somebody make a
Motion? You want a motion? You want a motion, Steve?
Sure.
Well, let's move to adjourn. Let's hear.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Alright.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks for your
See y'all
patience.
on
We do practice.